So it's come to this. I've reached my lowest point. No, there's gotta be better. There's gotta be some other options, right? I mean... Nah. Wait, what's this? This is what I've wanted. This is... aight. How do you do? I'm David. The remainder of this video will be a parody of Tales of Mere Existence, one of my favorite YouTube shows by one of my favorite YouTubers, Lev Yilmaz. If you are not familiar with his work, I encourage you to visit his YouTube channel and Tumblr blog to watch his videos and read his comics. I chose to ape his style for this year's Reverse-Valentine's Day video because I am a huge fan, and imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Also, I wanted to read some thoughts of my own in a similar cadence. I hope she thinks that I'm a good listener because I haven't said anything for 10 minutes, which is fine because she's been talking for 10 minutes. I guess I'd like to be with someone who talks this much because I like to talk this much, and maybe that's a good thing to have in common. Although I don't know if she knows I tend to talk this much. If I was more comfortable, I'd be talking a lot more, but at the moment I am not comfortable because I have to keep up the appearance that I am comfortable. Okay, so what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen would be a meteor strike that destroyed the Earth and all evidence of human civilization, and that the Voyager Golden Record would then get sucked into a black hole or fall into a star and never be seen by other intelligent life. But lowering that bar to the context of this date, the worst thing that could happen is she doesn't have a good time, and she casually lies about having a good time, and we never see each other again, despite myself leaving thinking that she had a good time. But that wouldn't be so bad, because this is the first time I've met her, and I've only seen 2 pictures of her before this, and I didn't know she existed until earlier this week, so I don't have much to be invested in. I mean, she's nice and all, but it wouldn't be a huge missed opportunity. So, what's the best thing that could happen? I suppose the best thing that could happen is we have an amazing time and then agree to be in a relationship together. But that's also probably the worst thing that could happen. Because if that happens, I'll have to be responsible not only for my own life, but for the life of this thing we are committing to together. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not afraid of commitment, but I am afraid that the commitment will take a lot of responsibility on my part that I may be underqualified to take on. I'm also afraid that she might not be willing to cut me some slack or tolerate the fact that I basically don't know what I'm doing. Also, and not that this is the same thing necessarily, but I have so many books, movies, TV shows, and bookmarked web pages that I haven't gotten around to yet. And my free time is already filled by doing things that put off plenty of other things. But even if I were in a relationship with this person, I still wouldn't read all those books, or watch all those movies, or read all those articles about how scientists discovered something called gravitational waves. This person is very beautiful. She is very, 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 very beautiful, and it makes me nervous. It's nerve-wracking to be around someone who is this very, 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 very beautiful, but it's also nerve-wracking to think that every heterosexual male she has ever encountered has probably fallen in love with her in some way. She probably has lovesick suitors still clinging onto optimism from high school. She probably gets catcalled on the street. It's clear to me then that if everybody thinks she's as very, 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 very beautiful as I do, that everybody would like to be with her. So what makes me so different from everybody? Well, I guess one thing that could ease my worries is reminding myself that she decided to go out with me. That means that she saw something about me that made her want to go out with me. I guess that puts me ahead of most of the Earth's population. I guess that thought should be more comforting. But what if she finds something out about me that makes her realize that I'm mostly no different from anyone else who has had their heels up over their head whenever she was around? What if I give her a compliment and it's the 1,000,000th time that she's gotten that exact compliment? I really like your eyes. I don't think I'm going to give her a compliment. But what if she doesn't like that either? I guess I'm in a position that many guys like me, because I'm like them, would kill to be in, and I hope that whatever she likes about me isn't going to be invalidated or ruined if I just sit here and don't do much of anything for fear of invalidating it. Because I figure that she has been on a lot of dates, and if I'm not like every other guy who has ever liked her, that could just mean that I'm like every other guy she has been on a date with. That thought isn't much more comforting. This person's okay. She's interested in some of the same things as me, but there's something about her that doesn't quite maintain my interest. It's not the presence of a negative quality, but more like the absence of that certain unquantifiable and abstract element that makes me weak in the knee, gives me butterflies in my stomach, and makes me feel like all could be right with the world. But you could say that I'm lucky she's even on a date with me, or that maybe I should lower my standards. But part of the reason I'm doing this is because I know there are other people who possess this undefinable quality, and I'm hoping I can meet one of them who also finds that quality in me. I read somewhere that being desperately lonely doesn't mean you should lower your standards, that the two qualities are mutually exclusive. This wasn't some macho douchebag Facebook photo that was shared into my newsfeed by someone who probably finds prosperity in being kind of a macho douchebag. This was in the blog of a therapist, and I think context matters because there's a difference between self-value and knowing your worth and being an arrogant prick. I hope that not seeing this person again doesn't make me an arrogant prick, but she was the initiator of the date we're on now, so I can't help thinking that it almost certainly does. I don't approach women. I don't approach women because I can't get around the idea that no matter what I am going to say, what I am really saying is that I've thought about dating and hugging and kissing and cuddling and maybe eventually even having sex with the person I'm talking to for the first time, and that I'd like to see if the feeling is mutual so we can take the steps to get there. I know that nobody thinks about this when a man comes up to a woman at a bar and says something along the lines of, "What's someone as pretty as you doing here?" Or, "How heavy is a polar bear?" Or, "Hello." I know that neither of them is thinking about any of the subtext or implications that would inspire a person to talk to a stranger like this, but I also know that the subtext exists, and I can't help thinking that women I find attractive are smarter than me, and that if they're smarter than me, and I know the subtext exists, then they know it too, and they can easily and justly shut down this creepazoid who is approaching them with all this subtext going on in the hormonal center of his stupid brain. So I don't approach women. I don't approach women because asking, in however many steps and in whatever order, to be someone's boyfriend is something that a lot of assholes do. They're perverted or aggressive or sexist or some combination of those things, and they turn into monsters at the faintest interpretation that they're possibly being rejected. Now, I know a lot of good men ask in however many steps and ways to be someone's boyfriend too, but I plead nolo contendere to being afraid of coming off as one of the many assholes that I don't even bother trying to be seen as one of the many good men, because I, like many people, don't want people to hate me. I'm pretty sure I fear rejection not because I don't want to be rejected, but because being rejected by someone who then puts a little note next to my name that says asshole and then closes the case on who I am as a person and then never speaks to me again sounds pretty unfair to me, particularly because even I'm not so certain on who I am as a person. It also sounds like I'm way overthinking things. I should point out that this part sounds like I'm the type of person who would try to communicate, staring down the barrel of rejection, that I'm a nice guy. But that is something you can't do without coming across like an even bigger asshole. Everybody thinks they're a nice person, and wants to be thought of as a nice person, but only assholes bother bringing that up, as if being courteous to your fellow man is some kind of strong foreign currency instead of the foundation for all forms of decent human interaction. But anyway, where was I? Oh yes, I don't approach women. I don't approach women because I operate under the delusion that people I'm attracted to can tell I'm attracted to them, so mentally I'm holding the door open for them to say if they like me too, but they don't know that I'm holding the door open because I haven't communicated any of this, because I assume it's apparent, when actually it's all in my head. To explore this assumption to its extreme, imagine I see the world as a place where women always assume every man is into them, and men don't ever assume any women are into them. This is an extremely misguided fantasy world, because men shouldn't assume no women are into them, because that's just not true, and women shouldn't assume all men are into them, because that's also just not true. Although I know these things are not true, I still make the generalization that most women I'm into assume I'm into them, because I'm into enough of them that they wouldn't be wrong in making that assumption. So unlike the kid in this video,
watch him, just watch and learn, Hey, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Oh, we're on the same page. I like that too. It's my color too, you know?
I walk around not hitting on women in obvious ways and avoid looking at their butts. I read about the horrible problems women face from men who are gigantic assholes to them, and I laugh at the lame messages from guys that women share online to make fun of how pathetic some of these guys are, content in the knowledge that I'd never say something so vulnerably stupid, but sometimes remembering that I have said some very stupid things not all that long ago. Then I vow to try avoiding similar embarrassments in the future and to never use any dating social media apps, so I don't approach women. Instead, I sit still and tell myself that it's common knowledge to the opposite sex and I am interested, and wait for one of them to overcome their own fears and tell me that they like me too. This will never happen. It has almost never happened. But what has also never happened is a woman telling me that I'm a bad person for having a crush on them. Although, they'd probably just keep it to themselves. So I guess ignorance is bliss. Sup, homies. This is David. I hope you had a good Reverse-Valentine's Day. If you would like to see more videos for this holiday that I've made in the past, you can click here or here for 2 videos that I think are some of the best. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. But definitely go check out Tales of Mere Existence because I can't recommend it highly enough. Thank you. As always, I'm bitter about being single, but it's kind of alright, because if I'm going to be in Plato's cave, I'll at least make shadow puppets.